right, good morning, my personal finance class. This is Miss Andrews here. So I figured the plus side of this for many of you is probably that you don't have to do those lovely rise and shine questions at 8:30. So you can be watching this video whenever you'd like. Okay, this is going to be a lesson on calculating our earnings when we get paid. So you should be able to define remuneration by the end of this lesson and calculate gross income. Okay, so when we started this whole course, we were talking about personal finances. Now, personal finance is all about saving and spending and giving and investing and earning. So in order to spend and save and give, you need to be able to earn money. We need to have an income. So income is another word for the money that we earn that goes into our bank account. Now, there's two types of income. There's gross income and there's net income. Today we're going to be calculating gross income. So this is our total earnings before any taxes or deductions get taken off. Now it's good to be able to calculate gross income, but we need to be careful to know that it's not all of our money. So net income, we'll talk more about later. This is after taxes and deductions get taken off. And that's what actually goes into your bank account. So you should actually be budgeting off of your net income, but it's a good idea to know your total earnings. All right, so another word for, money earned is remuneration. So this is just another term for the money that you earn providing a work or service. And there's many different formats on how people get remunerated, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So the first form of getting paid is a wage. So a wage is basically an agreement where you get usually an hourly wage based off of a kind of a rate. So for example, the current going rate right now is $11.35 per hour for minimum wage. So that's probably the most common way of getting paid for young people when you're getting a part-time job. Salary is a common agreement where your contract is based off of an annual sum. So you sign a contract saying you have an annual or a yearly salary, and then that money just gets paid out to people in equal payments. So for example, teachers have a salary contract, and then we get paid out monthly. Overtime pay is something we need to be aware of. So for people that are eligible for overtime pay, this is where you are working longer than the standard 8-hour workday, which works out to 40 hours a week. If they're eligible for overtime pay, they get paid out at 1.5 times their regular wage. Now, for example, salary workers typically don't get overtime pay. But let's say you are working, if you typically got $20 an hour, if you worked beyond 40 hours a week, you're eligible for 1.5 times that regular rate, which is $30. Now, that $30 rate is your overtime rate. It only applies to the hours above and beyond 40 hours a week. Less than 40 hours a week, you're still just earning the $20 per hour. And we'll do some examples with that in a minute. Okay, another type of getting paid is contract work. Now, construction or contract workers, they essentially sign up for an agreed upon price, and they get that specific rate of pay. Now, this type of work does not always get protected by the Employment Standards Act, so you have to be kind of a little bit careful there. Okay, the next two types here, commission and piecework. These forms of payment are incentivized, so that means they're actually protected by the Employment Standards Act. Whereas if their forms of payment did not equal at least minimum wage, the employer is actually required by law to pay them at least minimum. So the reason you'd want to be in a commission or piecework job is the incentive to actually earn more than minimum based off of your productivity. So a commission is typically a percentage where you're going to get a portion of often your sales that then will kind of go to you in addition. So let's say, for example, you might work in electronics and your contract might have a base salary, but also maybe you get 5% of your sales. So that could be a little bit of a bonus. Piecework is often where you're paid a fixed kind of dollar amount for maybe every unit or item you produce. So this might be in like a factory setting or picking berries for a company. You might earn $5 a bucket that you pick, something like that. Okay, so those are different types of payment. Let's do a few calculations. So I would like you to actually have a calculator. You can pause the video and follow along so that you're comfortable to do the worksheet on your own. Okay, the first example here is fairly straightforward. Harleen works 40 hours a week at her job where she's paid minimum wage at a rate of $11.35. How much will she earn in a week? So this might be a common calculation you're going to want to be able to do when you get a job. So very simply, 40 hours a week multiplied by her hourly rate of $11.35. This is equal, sorry there, calculator. Okay, that's going to be $454. So you're going to want to know kind of your gross income when you get a job. So Harleen earned $454. Again, keep in mind the amount actually going to be deposited into her account is going to be less than that. That's just the net income before deductions. Okay, number 2, John works 52 hours this week at his job where he receives an hourly rate of $15 per hour. How much will he earn? Okay, the thing that should stand out here is it does say he's eligible for overtime pay. So he worked 52 hours, which is 12 hours beyond the 40-hour work week. So again, remember 40 hours is standard work week. He's going to make $15 an hour for those 40 hours. So that works out to $600. The 12 hours that he worked beyond that standard 40, he's going to get 1.5 times his pay. So $15 times 1.5 is $22.50. Sorry, the writing on this is not great. So his overtime rate is $22.50, but that only applies to the 12 hours that are above 40. That works out to $270. So we add those up together, and that is $870. So his gross earnings is $870 for that 52 hours of work. Okay, next example. John's salary at his job is $54,000 per year. So like I said, salary agreements are typically annual. However, he gets paid monthly. How much is he going to earn per month? So this is a good calculation for any salary job. You're probably going to want to know, what are you actually taking home each month to budget off of? So $54,000 divided by 12 months of a year, that's going to work out to a gross income of $4,500. Again, we'll talk about deductions later. Okay, so that's often a very salaried agreement. Okay, number 4, Jan Veet earns a 5% commission on his total sales each week. This week, his sales were $12,000. Assuming Jan Veet does not get a base wage or salary, how much will he make? So he's strictly commission. So he sold $12,000 worth of product. Now he's not going to get $12,000. His commission agreement is that he gets 5% of that $12,000 in earnings. So to do percentage calculations, first we have to convert that to a decimal number, which is by dividing by 100. So 12,000 times 0.05 works out to $600. So off of the $12,000 that he sold for the company, Jan Veet himself earned $600. So he has incentive to sell more and more, because the larger his sales are, the larger his earnings. Okay, next example, or this is a continuation. So we just calculated that Jan Veet would make $600 off of his 5% commission. Because commission is often protected by the Employment Standards Act, we have to figure out, will his employer have to top up his earnings to minimum wage? So if Jan Veet was just getting paid minimum wage for a 40-hour work week, $40 times $11.35, that would be $454. So off of his commission agreement, Jan V made $600. Because $600 is greater than $454, his employer is not required to top him up. He's making more than minimum wage, so that's the incentive for him. Now with commission, your earnings typically fluctuate. Every month or every paycheck is going to look different. So some people like that incentive and some people find that risky. Okay, our last example here. Hannah earns a base salary of $2,000 a month, plus $250 for every 1,000 units of product she sells. So this is more of a piecework agreement. If she sells 3,000 units of product, how much will she make? All right, so she's getting $250 for every 1,000 units of product. She sold 3,000 units, so she gets that $250 3 times. So that's a $750 kind of bonus in addition to her base salary of $2,000 a month. So that works out to $2,750. So again, an incentivized kind of agreement that if she sold more products, she would have made more money. All right, that's all the examples I have for you. What I would like you to do now is find this getting paid and paying taxes worksheet. Some of you have the hard copy. Some of you are going to have to find this on Edsby. I want you to do all of number 1. So A through G, number 1, please. All right, take care. Stay safe.